and behold, Will Zalatoris came out. He's a member there. Jordan Smith, Tony Romo, they're all members there. And he came up to us on the driving range, and I got to meet him and talk to him. And he goes, "By the way, I'm going to play like as many holes as I can with you today."
Great. Ready?
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's do it.
All right. On today's episode, we welcome on a very special guest. He is Dave Tiedemann. He is the head PGA pro for Shelter Harbor Golf Course. Hopefully I got that intro right.
You got it right.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time, and obviously during the March Madness and everything that's going on. So, and
Best time of the year.
Yeah. Golf season's getting going too. But before we start the interview, we're gonna ask, what do you have for cigar today? What do you got today?
I'm just going to go with a basic Monte Cristo white, something nice, light, and easy. Old favorite.
Nice.
Yeah.
How about yourself, Austin?
I'm going with the leather rose again.
Oh, nice. Yeah, switch it up. I went with my father's cigar, so it's good. Yeah, I think I've had it before. I don't know. I've had a couple cigars the past couple days.
Watch a lot of hoops.
Yeah. So everything's good. But speaking of hoops, Austin mentioned to me that you went to UConn. I just want to ask you your thoughts on UConn last night, and we'll get back to more of the sports talk after that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of thoughts on UConn right now. I mean, it was an up and down year, mostly a very up year.
Yeah.
The Big East is tough, so that's where their losses came from. Out of conference, they were very good. They beat Alabama, they beat Iowa State, very impressive. And sometimes the defense, sometimes the outside shooting gets a little sketchy. But Andre Jackson going home to Albany, New York for that regional was awesome. I wasn't sure how he was going to come out of the blocks. Whether he was going to be too amped up, too excited, but he was great. Sonogo was awesome. They shot it well. They penetrated. They played great D. And, Coach Pitino was coming after him too. So the first half, they were down, but I wasn't surprised because that team hit everything. Mm-hmm. But I figured as deep as UConn is, they would hopefully prevail, and they did.
Yeah. I mean, it was a close game. I was surprised Iona. Well, I wasn't surprised because Iona's like a good team.
Yeah.
But I think UConn, they're big. I think they have a chance, an opportunity. If they play right, can get to pretty far in the tournament, just depending on who shows up.
There's a lot going on, but they're definitely capable of going to the Final Four.
Yeah,
definitely.
How far do you think they're going to go realistically?
So in my pools, I've got them winning tomorrow against St. Mary's, who's a good team from out west, and then I've got them getting beat by Kansas. And I just feel like Kansas isn't getting a lot of respect as defending champ. They've got this freshman, Grady Dick, who's just phenomenal. And Coach Self, if he gets healthy, he'll be back in there coaching them all the way. And, playing in the Big 12, I felt was probably the best conference all year with Texas and everybody out there. So I'm kind of giving that the edge. So I'm setting myself up. If UConn wins, I'm elated, right? And if they lose, I'll be like, all right, well, they lost to a good team.
Yeah, right. That's a good bracket there. Right?
Yeah.
It's tough out over there, but yeah, we'll get more into hoops talk and everything, but we'll jump into your background. First, I want to know. I know you played at UConn and you're PGA pro here at Shelter Harbor, but how did you fall in love with golf? What was it about the sport that made you fall in love with it?
So golf for me was just really through my two older brothers, Paul and Bob, who became PGA golf professionals and played golf at UConn. I was always a baseball player and a basketball player. So in the spring, I was always playing baseball. And then eventually we started caddying at the local club, the Farms Country Club in Wallingford, Connecticut. And, just one spring, I just was like done with baseball, playing golf, got hooked on it. And I like golf just because you're in every shot. If I was playing baseball, every 9 times you got up at bat or the ball came to you if you were at shortstop every now and then. So golf for me just really took off when I was about, 12 or 13.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's very interesting. And you also said you played basketball. I think you kind of talked a little bit too.
Just, I played high school basketball for Sheehan High School. I was okay at basketball, better at golf. And I did go out for UConn my sophomore year, Coach Calhoun's first ever practice when he took over UConn. They were very depleted. They were desperate for help. Their two best players, Cliff Robinson and Phil Gamble, were on academic probation. So Coach Gianelli knew I played high school basketball, and I went out with Coach Calhoun. Had a good run with them, and I kind of hurt my knee that first practice. And Dave Lato, the assistant coach, invited me back, wanted me to be like the third string team. And I just knew it wasn't for me long term. So I wanted to focus on my golf spring and fall with our 2 seasons.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it worked out good long term.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun though.
Was your ultimate decision to go to UConn based off of your brothers, or was it always a dream to go and play there?
That's a great question. It wasn't always my dream. My dream was to go to like Florida, Texas, Alabama, go south to play golf.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened. Just as I got closer to being a senior in high school, I was like, why leave Connecticut? I love UConn. My mom even went to UConn. So I kind of just drifted that way.
Yeah.
And then after I got out of college and I became a PGA professional, I went to Florida anyways,
Oh, nice.
long term. But playing golf in Florida, I just I don't know if I was going to be one of the top players down there. It's very competitive. UConn, playing in the Big East, I was able to have a good run with the talent and skill level there. We played against some great players. Jerry Kelly and Tim Petrovic are still on the Champions Tour. They've had great runs on the PGA Tour. So we played against some great competition, but it just wasn't, being in Florida or Texas or Tennessee or anything like that, which was fine.
That's awesome. I mean, when you're at UConn, like, do you have like a favorite memory, like when you were playing golf there? Or was there anything that really stuck out to you?
I just, to be honest with you, the traveling with the team was just the best. Going to the Big East at TPC at Avenel, going to the West Point Black Knight Invitational, okay, and just seeing places that a kid from Wallingford, Connecticut had never seen. We went to, spring break, we went to Florida, and just all those places that I would have never seen and traveled to was really neat for me. And I joke with Coach Pizzino now, his team goes to Hawaii, they go to Arizona. I'm like, I wish we were doing that back then, right? Yeah. But they've changed and they've developed, and which is pretty fun for those kids that are playing for UConn now.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's always something my dad always says. My dad played for Bryant, and he was like, I love the traveling with the team, and they would always they would hang out with the other teams that they played with too, against, and it was just a lot of fun. They said they had a good time. Yeah,
and those players that I played against in college, a lot of them are head pros now. Shane Jury's up here, Chris Humes at Newport National. Played a lot against those guys, and my friend Joey Cordani's at Simsbury in Connecticut, and Steve Berkmeyer's head pro in my hometown at Wallingford. So a lot of the guys we played with and against are head pros like myself.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really pretty neat.
Yeah, it's pretty
crazy. Yeah, it's fun.
That network never goes away.
It never goes away, and we still talk about the matches in the 80s. It always comes up.
That's
awesome.
great.
That's so cool.
Was it always? Did you always want to become a PGA head professional?
So my thought was, seeing my brothers do it, I wasn't going to become a head golf professional. I was going to become a top amateur, get a job. I went to work for Mass Mutual in Hartford out of college, selling life, health, and disability. And I wanted to, just really be an amateur golfer. And then when I was putting on the shirt and tie, going to Hartford, going to the office, really seeing what the real world was about, I'm like, I don't know if this is for me. I think I want to really do what my brothers do.
Yeah.
But that education there just showed me that the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Mm-hmm. So when I've had long, tough days in the golf business, I'm like, well, I know what it was going to Hartford and driving in traffic and doing that whole other scene. So it gave me a really good perspective.
Yeah.
What is that process to become like a PGA pro?
So it's changed a little bit. You always have to train under a Class A PGA professional. We had 2 business schools back in the day, School 1 and School 2, and then you had to pass your player's ability test. And passing your player's ability test, it really doesn't sound hard, but we had to basically shoot a pair of like 77s for 36 holes, but it's under tournament conditions. And a lot of when a flag goes up and you have to compete and score, it gets a little tougher.
Yeah.
So it's just an idea to show that you have ability to play. And a lot of players struggle with it. A lot of players can go out and shoot a 75, but then they shoot an 82 or 3.
Right.
And everything just gets amplified from there. Now, today they have a professional golf management schools. So when you get out of school, you have your PGA membership and you do internships your freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year. So you've got all this training already. So by the time you're 23, you've got your Class A membership. You've been trained and have exposure to all sorts of different operations. And so it's a little bit more accelerated. So there's pluses and minuses with both of them, but you do have to train under a Class A PGA professional and learn the ropes.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's like interesting too, because I feel like the popularity of golf, like how have you seen the popularity of golf with people trying to get more into the field of like working as a PGA pro, or getting on the golf course or becoming like
Yeah, I mean, I think the golf boom the last few years, we're actually seeing it go the other way, where there's a lot of burnout in golf, just because of the hours, the holidays, the weekends. So it's not as attractive to a lot of people. But I always say it's like an apprenticeship. I mean, if you're going to be an apprentice for a blacksmith, an electrician, I mean, you learn from over the last 100 years to learn a trade. And then you get your own gig when you're probably 30, 32, 33.
Yeah.
So that's what it is in golf. And I think a lot of people, like, when they get out of college, they want to become a head pro or director of golf like me when they're 24, 25.
Yeah.
And we're like, you got to pay your dues.
Yeah.
You got to pay your dues and you got to put in the time.
Yeah. Got to work towards it.
You got to work towards it.
What's a little bit of background for you as far as paying those dues and then getting the position at Shelter?
Yeah, so what I did is when I left Hartford, I went and worked at New Haven Country Club for my brother Paul, Willie Park Jr., just a great old school club. And then I went to Florida in the winter. So I was doing the back and forth. I went to Bonita Bay, which is more of a modern club. Arthur Hill's design back in the late 80s. New Haven was classic from the late 1890s. And, that's what you did. But the cool thing about going to Florida is I met people from all over the country. We had members from Indianapolis, Chicago, Philadelphia. So that really opened up my network into the golf business. And that led to some opportunities for me to either go to Philadelphia. To Pine Valley was an opportunity, which was, number one in the country at the time. It's always number 1 or 2 with Augusta. I had a chance to go there. But Bonita Bay was expanding and going from 2 courses to 3 and eventually to 5. So they're like, if you stay with us, we're going to make you head pro. My boss went to director of golf. So I basically was able to stay year round and have a job, which was a rarity because, like I said, a lot of pros and assistants, when they start out, they've got to do the north and then the south.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which, so that was the Bonita Bay really kind of helped my career just take off to the next level.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
It's great. Yeah.
So when you were able to have those experiences, play Bonita, be at Bonita Bay, is there a course that you experienced that you really enjoyed the most that you were a part of?
Well, I'll tell you what, when I went to Bonita Bay, I was there for 7 years and we had some members from Columbus, Ohio, and that took me where I took a head pro job at Scioto Country Club where Jack Nicklaus learned the game.
Oh, wow.
And that's Donald Ross, top 100. So that would be probably my favorite golf course. That golf course was very difficult. Bobby Jones won a U.S. Open out there, and you were just into a dogfight every day. You teed it up on that golf course, and you're walking the fairways where all the greats have walked.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's going to be such a cool, historic thing.
Very, very historic.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
Yeah,
very special.
What's it been? So what made you leave there and come to Shelter?
So another great question, because I was happy out there, right? But then my brothers, my mom and dad, my wife's family, UConn's out here, and the architects for Shelter Harbor were based in Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
And they would come out and they'd look at Scioto because they want to show clients and look at all the design features. And I became very good friends with Dana Fry. And Dana was like, "You're a New England boy. You got to see this project we're doing in Rhode Island." And I just told him, I said, "I'm really interested," because when I was in Florida, I'd see all my family and friends in the winter. They'd come out of the cold. I'd see them there. When I went out to Ohio, as much as I loved Ohio, I was out of the loop with family and friends because they're like, "We're not going out to the Midwest. We're not going out there." And so I kind of kept my ear out for this job. Dana kept me posted, and it took a while. It was a process. It took over a year. And then by the time, he said they're ready to interview, they'd already gone through, 100 resumes, and I got in the game late.
Yeah.
And he was able to tell the founders and the committee, here's a resume that you should probably take a look at. And then it just fell into place.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then I had to make a decision, what am I going to do? And I was like, I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm going back east. And I've been very blessed. I mean, Shelter Harbor's been unbelievable. And, the club, the membership, And I got to tell you, that golf course I was talking about, Scioto, as good as Scioto is, I mean, Shelter Harbor is just so much fun to play. I mean, if I had to play any golf course and wake up and say, where do you want to play? Do you want to go to Wingfoot, Shinnecock? Do you want to go to Shelter? I'd be like, I'll see you on the first tee at Shelter.
Yeah.
It's just so good.
Yeah,
It's so good.
I second that.
Yeah.
That's
It's so
one
good.
of the great things about it. I played it in virtual golf, so
Yeah, there you go.
it's a lot of fun on the virtual golf. But I mean, that's awesome that you're able to get to be at Shelter. Can you take us through like just a day or something like as a golf pro that people might not know or don't see or don't understand of like what exactly the profession entails?
Yeah. So, I mean, the old school pros, a lot of our basics are teaching and playing.
Yeah.
Okay. Promoting the game of golf. So we need to teach the membership. We need to be able to play with the membership, but also promote and get you excited about it. But more than anything, I'm an event planner. So if you're coming with your company and your clients, you might be using the cottages, you might be setting up a couple-day golf trip. We run tournaments for our members, so I'm a tournament director. We manage a golf shop, so we've got merchandise that come in and out. So we're dealing with merchandise. We have a caddy program, we have golf carts. I have a staff of 20.
Wow.
So I'm a manager, so I'm really a golf manager. And a lot of people are like, oh, you must just play golf every day. You know? And really the joke is when a lot of PGA pros get out of golf is when they play the most golf. Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's just always something to do. But I love the fact when, members and guests come to the club, you're out there meeting and greeting on the putting green and by the first tee and just making sure that they're all set for their day. They're excited to play golf and they're going to do their lunch, their dinner, stay in our cottages, experience the golf course. And we do a lot of club fittings. We do a lot of teaching in schools and clinics that, I kind of oversee, and I still get to teach and do all that stuff that I love, which are the basics of the game. But there's just so much more. Like I said, I'm more of a manager and, event planner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that's what we do right now. We do a lot of that now in the off season. My members are like reaching out to me. We're coming up for 2 days of meetings. I got to coordinate with food and beverage and just line stuff up. So
that's very interesting. I would never have known that.
Yeah.
Just because I don't think you really see. I don't think people really know. Like I think PGA pros just teach, and that's the end of it. There's they don't understand the whole back end of
that's right.
What goes on unless you're in the profession or in it. So
right.
You're also. Are you still the head of New England PGA's board?
So I just stepped off the board in October after about, I don't know, it's been a long time. So, well, for them, it was 6-7 years, but I was involved with the RIPGA for about 5 years before that.
Nice.
So I was past president of the Rhode Island Golf Association. And then for the New England PGA, I was district director for 2-3-year terms. So I'm one of those guys. I always feel like it's important to kind of give back to the game and be involved. It's hard to find time to be involved with stuff like that. And so it was a little crazy sometimes driving to meetings or doing stuff, but you just get so much back in return, getting to know other PGA pros, finding out what the NAPGA is doing, the RIPGA, what they're involved with. So I'm glad I did it. It was a lot of fun. And but now hopefully you spend a little more time at the club and family and try to get some rounds in.
Yeah.
It's always great.
Yeah.
Do you have like a favorite hole at Shelter Harbor?
So my favorite hole at Shelter is I would say 14. Okay, 14 from the back tees and the blue tees. You have a force carry of about 200 yards, and the green is elevated, and it's got a bunker that's just massive. It just carved out deep.
Yeah,
and I've seen a lot of good rounds of golf just go down the tubes. They were playing great, and they got in that bunker, and it's done. So I like that hole visually, and then as far as strategically, what I have to do on that hole. So that's my favorite hole.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Awesome. Do you have one?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
My favorite one at Shelter. There's a lot to pick from. For one, there's a lot of really good holes out there. I think I'm not going to pick one hole. I think my favorite stretch is 16, 17, 18.
Yeah.
Just
that finish is tough.
Yeah,
Right.
and then
Beautiful.
when you get off, when you hole out your final shot, you walk up the hill and you look back at what you just played. I don't think there's a better view from the clubhouse or from the back of the 18th green to look back and see all of 18, 17, and most of 16.
Yeah, that view is never going to change. We're not going to see high rises or housing developments. It's all state land on the other
nice.
side of 14 that you're looking at. So the buffer around Shelter Harbor and just the total acreage just gives you that unbelievable feel that you're the only one out there on that golf course.
So
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
That's gonna be awesome.
It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta get out there. Virtual golf is great, but
Doesn't quite cut
it
it.
doesn't quite cut it. I just have, but yeah, those are all our questions about yourself, and I think we're gonna hop into some sports, but we'll kind of word to our sponsor real quick, and then we'll jump
Love
back
it.
into the sports.
Welcome to Vintage Cigar Lounge, the place where you escape to, not from. A place where your cigar options are limitless. A place where friends come together and bond over the finest cigars and drinks. A place where your selected few can retreat to and enjoy premium cigars, great conversation, and your liquor of choice within the privacy of our private rooms. Looking for a place to escape to? Our doors are always open.
We are back from a word from our sponsor. Thank you, Vintage, and be sure to catch us on the 29th. We'll be here live doing a live event for Drew Estate. Some rolling some cigars over here. With some people on. It'll be a good, great time. But so we touched about it a little bit in the beginning of the interview, but now I want to kind of jump into it. It's March. March Madness definitely has ruled the past couple of days. I actually forgot today was Saturday. Took the past
I know,
days
right?
off to
Yeah.
watch the tournament. I was like, shoot, it's not Sunday, so great. That's great news for me. I just found out, but we talked about UConn, but what have you thought of the tournament? I mean, the upsets that we've had, like FDU beating Purdue last night. We got FAU upsets Memphis, Furman over Virginia, Princeton over Zona. What are your thoughts?
So my thoughts are, I think it's good for the tournament.
Yeah.
Because just the emotions when you see these upsets, the kids and the parents for these teams and the coaches, and when they take down Purdue or Virginia, right? Or Arizona the other night, unbelievable. And there's parity, right? So Austin's played a ton of basketball in AAU. I mean, these kids, they come up, they've been well trained. I mean, they're playing against great competition. All those kids that are playing for Fairleigh Dickinson, all these other other schools, I should say, in hoops, they're playing against great competition. So why not beat these guys?
Right.
Yeah.
Why not play?
I mean, they all made it there. Might as well leave it all on the floor, and that's what you're seeing. It's awesome.
Well, I think it's also too the first time that a lot of the lower seeds, like the guys from the smaller conferences, are all in the mid-20s for wins. A lot of these lower seeded teams are all high, have won a lot of games and are actually can play good basketball. And I think this is kind of a tournament that I feel personally there's not a number one seed that you can really pick that could win it, because I think this is a tournament that's up in the air. There's been times where you're oh, it's top heavy, who's gonna go, but now I don't know who's going to win it all. I'm rooting against Alabama, but I don't know who else is going to. Alabama has a good shot, but I don't know who else is going to go all the way.
You've got the classic blue bloods like Duke's coming on fire right now. Obviously Kentucky beat PC, and Kentucky had a real tough year until they got their act together.
Yeah,
and Duke's on fire right now. Kansas, we Austin and I talked about Kansas a little bit earlier, and we talked about them. I mean, they're going to be legit. They're going to be right there.
There is a plethora of schools that could win it. It's going to be interesting because, like you said, Duke wasn't really in the headlines this year, but now that they're playing well, UConn's playing well. I mean, who knows? They can match it. They could win against St. Mary's and then match up against Kansas and take them down. You never know. People aren't really on the Kansas bandwagon to go back to back, so we'll see how it unfolds.
Well, it's also tough to judge because if people just watch the conference play, they those conferences beat up on each other. But then once you get out of conference, you don't know, because you don't see those teams every day. You're not playing against them, so you're gonna get a team that's gonna maybe play very good basketball. You don't know how to UConn. They're big, they're strong. They can match up well with Kansas or something like that. But they play against Marquette because they know each other. So Marquette has an advantage, or they have an advantage against each other. It's just the chess match there. So,
and then we haven't even talked about Houston. I mean, Sasser's got a groin injury or something like that. So if you're a top team and you get an injury,
that's
going to affect the rest of the way.
Right. And they had a tough struggle last night playing playing. Who they play against? But they had a struggle against the 16 seed. They were
Yeah,
playing
I
against.
don't even know. I
Yeah.
forget who they
Yeah.
were.
Yeah,
playing
yeah,
against,
but it's anyone's ballgame. I mean, that's what makes March Madness the
Makes it
favorite.
so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, yeah. Is there like anything that you like to do, Mr. Tiedemann, that you like to enjoy to like watch the games or like?
All my buddies, they got together in Wallingford yesterday, and they were watching games all day. But I ended up staying local. Met up with some of my friends from Meriden, Connecticut that live in Rhode Island, Jay Murphy.
Yep.
So I was with Big J, and he played for BC, and then he played in the NBA. So I met up with him and another guy, Steve Kenny. But I just watched the first half because if I've got the perfect night, I just go home. I watch the second half and hung out with my wife and
Yeah.
watched
Nice.
it. So I want to focus, and my wife's a sports fan too, Gail. So that was a perfect day.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
That's really great. Is there anyone that you're predicting to win the tournament? Who you have in your final four?
So I've been following Texas, and I've
Yeah.
been following Baylor a lot.
Yeah.
So one of my golf buddies, he went to Texas. So we were texting yesterday and today. So Texas got to play Penn State tonight.
Yeah.
I feel with what they went through all year playing against all those teams in the Big
Yeah.
12, Kansas and everybody. So they're going to be ready to make a deep run. And then, Baylor, for some reason, I follow Baylor, and they always say in the NCAAs you need good guard play, and they've got
Yeah.
really good guard play.
Yeah. Keontae George.
Baylor is
Yeah,
just
LJ Cry, yeah.
They are always tough. I feel like they're just bulldogs out there. I
Yeah.
don't know, something about Baylor.
I
You
don't
see
get it.
Baylor and you're automatically afraid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get it. They just came out the last 10 years or so
Yeah.
in all their sports,
Yeah.
football, women's, men's.
They're just so hard nosed and they play hard and they just get after it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
should be interesting.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Yeah, Baylor's tough. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. I really have no idea. Yeah, it's hard. I think. We did the
Yeah.
show where we picked him. I picked Marquette. I think you picked Marquette
Yeah.
too. So I don't know. I have no idea. Marquette looks good too. Like
Yeah.
it's just like
We shall see.
yeah,
That's for
it's
sure.
interesting to me. But other sports that are going on too is a golf tournament this weekend in Valspar. Golf tournament. What are your thoughts? We've tied for third. You got Tommy Fleetwood also tied for third.
Yeah. So Innisbrook is a tough test. The Copperhead Golf Course. It's a shot maker's golf course. I've played it. It's really difficult. And everybody loves watching Jordan Spieth. I mean, he's one of my favorites out there. And then Tommy Fleetwood's like 3 back or something like that. So I'm really excited to see how he does. He came to Shelter Harbor last June and did a clinic during the Travelers Championship. So I was able to talk to him a little bit. And he's from Southport, England, which I played out there a couple of years ago. Went to England and played with my son David. So that was cool. So
That's
we talked
awesome.
a little bit about England and Southport. And so I'm pulling for him. He hasn't won on the tour yet. And just as a golfer, for all of us in any sport, basketball, golf, I mean, I was asking him questions about his warm-up routines. And the first thing he does, he just talks about finding the dirt, finding the turf. And what that means is he's just trying to make contact.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you think he's going to just throw some unbelievable, crazy, elaborate routine. And he just starts small, trying to get a feel and builds up on it. And he broke it down and kept things simple, which I thought was a great lesson
Yeah.
for everybody listening out there, because sometimes we make this game very complicated, more
Right.
complicated than it should be.
Mhm.
And so that was a good thing for me to take away from that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome
so
insight.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just get good contact.
That's that's what I try to do as well, but I mean, it never really goes the way I want. not an average golfer, you guys, but yeah, no, that's an awesome insight to have these conversations with pros. Have you like had any experiences with any other pros or anything like that?
Yeah, just 2 weeks ago, one of my assistants is down in Dallas at Dallas National, and I went down there to play some golf with him. And lo and behold, Will Zalatoris came out. He's a member there. Jordan Spieth, Tony Romo, they're all members there. And he came up to us on the driving range, and I got to meet him and talk to him. And he goes, "By the way, I'm going to play like as many holes as I can with you today." He goes, "I just got home from Riviera, Tigers tournament on Sunday, but I wanted to see what I can do with you guys." And he's had 3 runner-ups in majors, including, when Justin Thomas won at Southern Hills last year. And of course, the Country Club, he barely burned that putt on 18, and he's still upset about that. He thought he made it.
Yeah.
So I got to play with him, and just going out with him and learning and talking to him was really insightful, and he couldn't have been any nicer. He was actually asking me more questions than I was
Really?
asking him.
Really?
Yeah,
Awesome.
he was really cool, and we were both Titleist staff guys, and so he saw my bag and he was looking at my irons, and he's like, "Wait till you see the new irons." So I haven't seen those, and then he was interesting too. He told me like his driver, he cut it down 1.5 inches to 44.5 inches. Lost a little bit overall yardage, but he's gained a ton of accuracy, and he was like third in strokes gained that weekend at that tournament. And those guys all hit it far enough anyways,
Yeah.
but for them to hit it, 320 instead of 330, but find more fairways. So he was giving some insight about what he's working on. So with the Masters coming up in a couple of weeks, I'll be pulling for him.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's great,
definitely
yeah.
pulling for Will.
I got a question for you. When you were playing with him, is his putting really as bad as they say it is with the hitch, or?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I was watching his setup and his grip. They all use the Super Stroke fat grips,
Yeah.
so to get a little bit of a benefit with that. And I don't think it's as bad as they make it out to be. I think it's a confidence thing. So
Yeah.
I think that's probably under the heat of the battle where he gets a little doubt in his mind.
Yeah.
But when you're watching him just play on a normal basis, everything's as solid and tight as it can be.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Might have to throw a couple bets on him.
That's right.
Any other insights? Yeah.
Yeah, I always try to get that scoop.
Yeah.
One of my friends works down there at Augusta. I'm like, who do you like this year? And that's just like the NCAA tournament. There's
Yeah.
so many guys that can win that tournament.
Yeah.
Right. And that Masters is coming up soon too, which is awesome. Like you got the finals, the NCAA tournament, and you go right into the
You
Masters.
just go right into it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great.
What do you think from a golfer standpoint and being around the game? What do you think about when the PGA pros and the live guys are going to be at the Masters together? What do you think's going to transpire there?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I figured that was coming.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, I think it's kind of unfortunate for the game, right?
Yeah.
That they had to split up, so you don't get to see, Cam Smith, you don't
Right.
get to see Dustin Johnson on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be a little divisive. But I think once they get there, or they see each other again, and they're competing, they should just kind of blend in. And
Yeah,
they
yeah.
get, you get to play the Open and the U.S. Open, the PGA. So, I think they'll figure it out in a lot of ways and get along. And I think long term, 3 to 5 years, I want to see what's going to go on. Do they actually figure something out?
Yeah.
The only thing I will say that I like about the live for now, that it's given, because those guys have left, it's
Mhm.
just given a lot of younger players more opportunity
Yeah.
to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's created more space for all these up and comers that they would have been struggling on the Corn Ferries or the other tours. They had a chance to go to the PGA Tour. So I like that.
Yeah.
And then some of the younger guys that are, I get it why Ian Poulter left and Mark Leishman left and some of those guys, because they're older and they're not as competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you got a guy like Matthew Wolf, who's 22 years old,
Yeah.
and he took the money.
Yeah.
But guess what? He doesn't have to grind, doesn't have to worry about losing his card. So he's kind of set,
Yeah.
right? So it's just so much back and forth.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
so much back and forth with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you
But
think-
Matthew Wolf, he won't be able to play Augusta because he's not,
I
low
know,
ranking
yeah,
points,
so,
and he's
yeah.
not a past major champion.
Right. Yeah.
So we'll see. He's given up on that dream.
Takes the legacy out of it. That's
Yeah.
the hard part
I
to
know.
wrap your head around.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Do you think there will ever be a crossover event? I think Austin and I brought it up a couple times,
Yeah.
but like a live versus PGA.
I
Like a
think so.
Ryder Cup, Ryder Cup,
Yeah, I think so, because I mean, I love the Ryder Cup, and I was
Yeah.
at the last Ryder Cup out at Whistling Straits, and that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
when we won, and it was just the best. President's Cup, I don't follow quite as much.
Yeah.
But if there was a live versus the PGA Tour, I'd be tuning into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
that's-
I think
think-
everybody would.
Yeah.
I think they have to do
They-
something with the
yeah.
President's Cup,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then if it is a live PGA type
Yeah.
deal,
Yeah.
oh man,
Yeah, that's a
must see TV.
Yeah, there's so
Must
much,
see.
so much like I said, like a Tiger and Phil Mickelson are your captains,
Yeah.
and you got like Greg Norman. I know one likes Greg Norman.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you get like guys like teaming up, like you get to see like a Rory and a Justin Thomas and a Spieth team up and play
Yeah.
against like a DJ and all of
Patrick Reed.
Oh,
yeah. So I think that'd be a lot of people would be chomping out the bit to get that
Mhm.
TV deal. If you
Yeah.
like in any which way.
For sure.
But
I don't think the CW will cut it for that.
I forget that. But it's CWI. Honestly, I'm like, oh yeah, that's forget that. That's has a sport.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
That's crazy.
yeah. But I think that's all the questions. Anything
Yeah.
else you got anything or
No, it was a pleasure having you on. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
No, I hope everybody has a great season with golf. It's right around the corner.
Yeah.
April's here almost, and
Mhm.
season's going to begin. So I'm looking forward to seeing you with the Wesley High Bulldogs coming out to
Yes.
practice and play. And congrats on your Hall of Fame induction. I'm really
Thank you.
excited. You've earned that, and set a great example for all the kids that came up through high school after you, and how you gave back your time to those guys with basketball and now golf, and still continuing with the hoops.
Yeah,
So,
thank
good
you. I
stuff. Good
appreciate
for
it.
you.
Thank you.
Good for you.
Awesome. Well,
Jeff, thank you. Thanks for having me.
yeah, of course. Thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate your time, and
My pleasure.
we'll catch you. Maybe I'll catch you at Shut the Heart.
That's it. Yeah, I looked that in, right?